She was nobody. A background extra, a mannequin woman in a low-budget scene. And he was Nicolas Cage, the man who once paid $276,000 for a dinosaur skull, the man who owns a pyramid tomb with his name on it, the man who, and I cannot stress this enough, bought a pet octopus because he genuinely believed it would improve his acting range. So when these two people ended up in the same room, nobody could have predicted what came next. Nobody. Let's set the scene properly, because this story deserves it. It's 2019, Japan is beautiful, the film industry is buzzing, and Nicolas Cage, 56 years old, 4 failed marriages behind him, a career that somehow keeps defying gravity, lands in the country to shoot Prisoners of the Ghostland. He's jet-lagged, he's Nicolas Cage, he's probably wearing something insane, and somewhere on that same production is a 25-year-old woman from Kyoto named Riko Shibata. She's not there to be discovered. She's not there to network or climb or chase anything. She has a small role, background work. She plays, and this is real, a mannequin woman. She's literally standing still for a living. And yet, she's the one who stopped Nicolas Cage in his tracks. Now, before we get into the romance, we need to talk about who Riko actually is, because the internet loves to reduce her to Nicolas Cage's young wife, and that framing is doing her dirty. Riko Shibata was born January 10th, 1995, Kyoto, Japan, one of the most breathtaking cities on the planet. Ancient temples, bamboo forests, streets that feel like they exist outside of time. That's where she's from. That's what shaped her. And here's what's striking about her. She genuinely did not want fame. In a world where everyone is desperately clawing for 15 seconds of attention, Riko wasn't interested. She worked occasionally in film, small roles, nothing glamorous. She loved her city, she loved her family, and she loved her pets. Not dogs, not cats, flying squirrels, sugar gliders specifically. Tiny, exotic, completely unexpected. Now, file that detail away, because that detail, that one tiny, weird, wonderful detail, is the reason this entire love story exists. I'm not exaggerating. So they meet on set. Mutual friends make the introduction, and normally, that's where the story ends. Two people shake hands, exchange pleasantries, and go back to their completely separate lives. But something happened in that conversation, something neither of them was looking for. Cage later said they started spending time together off-set, exploring Japan, wandering through streets, eating food, talking, just talking. And at some point, Cage asked her about her life back home, what she did, what she loved, what her world looked like. And Riko told him about the flying squirrels. Wait, stop. According to Nicolas Cage himself, that was the moment. That was the exact sentence that flipped something in his brain. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, but barely, "That's it. This could work out." A man who once spent $250,000 on a dinosaur skull was won over by flying squirrels. Honestly, that's the most coherent decision he's ever made. Now, here's where the story gets an edge to it, because nothing about this was easy. They're falling for each other in Japan. They're spending time together, learning each other, building something real. And then, March 2020, the world collapses. COVID hits like a freight train, and suddenly every border on Earth slams shut. Riko has to go back to Kyoto. Cage has to fly back to Nevada. And just like that, an entire ocean sits between two people who just found each other. 6 months. 6 months apart. No timeline, no certainty, no idea when or if they'd see each other again. Now here's what I want you to think about. They had just started. This wasn't a decade-long relationship weathering a storm. This was brand new, fragile, unproven. Long-distance relationships fail under the best circumstances. These were the worst circumstances. And yet, every single day, FaceTime. every single morning or night or whenever the time zones aligned. They showed up for each other through a screen, day after day after day, and here's what nobody talks about when they tell this story. That kind of discipline, that kind of daily commitment when you have every excuse in the world to slowly fade away, that's not infatuation. That's not a crush. That's a choice made over and over again for 6 months straight. But here's where it gets completely unhinged, in the best possible way. August 2020. They're on a FaceTime call. Just another call, another square on a screen, another night of being apart. And something shifts in Nicolas Cage. He looks at her, through that pixelated connection, through the lag and the distance and the impossible situation, and he just decides, right now, this woman, forever. And so, Nicolas Cage, a man with 4 previous marriages, a pyramid tomb, and absolutely zero chill, looks into his phone camera and says, "I want to marry you." No restaurant, no ring in a champagne glass, no choreographed moment on a beach somewhere. Just a man, a phone, a decision. And that would already be the wildest proposal story in Hollywood history. But wait, he didn't stop there, because Nicolas Cage cannot do anything halfway. He sent her the ring. Not just any ring. Stop, because this matters. A custom black diamond engagement ring, designed specifically for her. Black diamonds, which, if you know anything about Nicolas Cage's aesthetic, is the most on-brand gemstone choice in human history. And how did this custom black diamond engagement ring make its journey from Nicolas Cage to Riko Shibata in Kyoto, Japan? FedEx. Federal Express, the same company that delivers your Amazon packages. Nicolas Cage shipped his marriage proposal via standard courier service, and I genuinely cannot decide if that's chaotic or deeply romantic or somehow both simultaneously. Riko opened that box, looked at that ring, and said yes, immediately, without hesitation. This 25-year-old woman from Kyoto, who just wanted to live her quiet life with her flying squirrels, said yes to a 56-year-old Hollywood eccentric who proposed over FaceTime and shipped the evidence through FedEx. And she meant it. That's the part people gloss over. She meant it completely. February 16th, 2021, the Wynn Hotel, Las Vegas. Because, of course it's Las Vegas. Of course it is. But here's what surprises you about the wedding. It was small. Genuinely, intentionally small. No photographers tipped off, no celebrity guest list leaked to tabloids, no spectacle engineered for press coverage. Just close friends, family, the people who actually mattered. And then the detail that stops me every time I tell this story. Riko walked in wearing a custom Japanese bridal kimono, handcrafted, traditional, breathtaking. Cage stood across from her in a classic black tuxedo. 2 completely different worlds, 2 completely different everything, standing in the same room, choosing each other. In that single image, her kimono, his tuxedo, you have the entire story. The entire beautiful, ridiculous, unexpected, genuine story. Cage told press afterward, quietly, simply, "It's true, and we are very happy." And from a man whose entire career is built on being the loudest thing in any room, that quiet sentence hit differently. This was marriage number 5 for Cage, by the way. 5. He'd been through the Hollywood divorces, the tabloid chaos, the very public failures. So when he said this one felt right, when he said this was different, people actually stopped and listened, because he would know. Now, fast forward to 2026. Where is Riko Shibata today? She's a mother. Their daughter, August Francesca Cage, was born September 2022. Nicolas Cage became a father again at 58 years old, and every single thing he said publicly about it suggests he is completely, overwhelmingly, embarrassingly in love with his life right now. Riko has appeared at premieres, walked red carpets, been photographed at award shows looking like she was born for it. But here's what's striking. She still doesn't perform for the cameras. She doesn't have a PR strategy, doesn't have an agenda. She shows up, she's present, she's real. The same woman who was standing still on a film set in Japan, just living. Except now the life is a little bigger, and presumably still includes flying squirrels. Look, I know what some people say about this relationship. The age gap, the whirlwind timeline, the unconventional everything. People have opinions, people speculate, people raise eyebrows. And honestly, eyebrows being raised is fair. A 31-year age gap is significant, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest. But here's what the cynicism keeps missing. A global pandemic, the single greatest external threat to a new relationship in modern history, tried to end it before it began. 6 months, an ocean, no end date, no guarantees. And they chose each other anyway, every day, through a screen, until they could finally be in the same room again. That's not a PR story. That's not Hollywood packaging. That's two people deciding over and over that the other person was worth the difficulty. Nicolas Cage owns a pyramid tomb with his name carved into it. He once bought a haunted mansion in New Orleans just because he wanted to. He spent decades being the most unpredictable force in Hollywood, and after all of that, after 4 marriages and a career that makes no logical sense, and a life that reads like a fever dream, the most Nicolas Cage thing he ever did was fall in love with a quiet girl from Kyoto over flying squirrels via FedEx, and somehow, against every odd, make it last.